Okay, the next holometabolous group, so remember we're on groups that have a complete metamorphosis. They have a pupa, larva, and adult stages. So next up is Coleoptera, which is beetles. You're probably familiar with the terrestrial ones. There are 20 families and about 1,000 species that are either aquatic or semi-aquatic, at least in one stage of life. Both the larvae and adults can be aquatic, so that can make this confusing. The adults have what's called a hard elytra. So this part right here is the elytra, which is the case covering the wings. The elytra are here. Underneath these is a filamentous wing. So when beetles fly, they lift up these elytra and then they unfold these big filamentous wings out, and they use those to fly with. But when they're crawling around or swimming, those flying wings are hidden underneath. All beetles have chewing mouth parts. The larvae have long bodies and undeveloped eyes, and they live in a variety of habitats. And there are a lot of different kinds of aquatic beetles. I do experiments in my lab that deal with aquatic beetles, and we found quite a few just around town. These are what the larvae look like. They come in different shapes, but a lot of them are kind of elongated like this. Some of them have kind of gill filaments, some of them don't. Some of them look crazy, like this Peltodites larvae. These guys are really cool. And then some of them are really weird. This is a water penny, which is an indicator of clean water. Not all beetles are necessarily indicators of clean water, but the water penny is. And you can see all their segments are really flattened and they stick up against rocks. And they've disappeared from a lot of kind of urban, suburban streams because the water quality has gone downhill. All right, the next order is Diptera, or the true flies. And there are 29 families, 3,500 aquatic species in North America. It's a lot. There are more species of aquatic Diptera than anything else, even the fully aquatic orders. So there are some Diptera that aren't considered to be aquatic. Some of them lay their eggs in carcasses or in mud or something. They need something moist to lay their eggs in, but it doesn't have to be water. So carcass is moist. That's kind of gross. But anyways, there are lots that have larvae that live in freshwater habitats, though, and obviously a lot of species. There's a lot of families of Diptera. We'll focus on the important ones. The adults are terrestrial. They tend to have an elongate body. It does include mosquitoes, and which think of like house flies and stuff. They have segmented bodies, so you can see the segments here. The adults have one pair of wings, so that's how you tell it's a fly and not something else, because it only has two wings, and then it has these vestigial wings that you can see here in this picture really well. They have very diverse morphology, so they come in lots of different shapes, and they live in a variety of habitats. These are some of the larvae. So this is a mosquito larvae like you saw in the dragonfly video. There are lots of things. These are very, very common and very abundant. These are called chironomids or non-biting midges, and we'll learn about those. Some of them are big and fat. Some of them have these crazy long tails that they can breathe through. All kinds of weird stuff in the flies. These are some of the pupa. I'm not going to make you learn the pupa, but this is kind of what they look like. They usually have some kind of little horn thing going on. Their heads are usually a lot fatter, and you can see they're growing their wings in this part. And unlike like a moth pupa in like a cocoon, some of these guys can move around. So particularly like mosquitoes, you'll see them flipping around, like they respond to movement or vibrations, and they freak out because they think you're going to eat them. And they'll flit around even though they're in the pupal stage. So I have this, and I want you to look and see if you can figure out what this is and what this is. So pause the video and take a minute to see if you can figure it out. What order are these two organisms? So hopefully you said this one was Megaloptera and this one is Plecoptera. So Megaloptera, the Dobson flies and alder flies, they have those gills that are paired off the side. They have big chewing mouth parts. Plecoptera have two tails. You can see this one's broken off a little bit. They don't have gills on here, but they have gills up in their armpits. And so that's how you can tell what these two are. So you might not have gotten that, but that's what you're going to do for your lab is there's going to be pictures of organisms, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, but you're going to have to use the PowerPoint to try and figure it out because I want you to work on your identification skills. You can use your field guide. You can use all the notes I just gave you, and you can figure it out.